guys. Nice to see you. I thought I'll just do my usual carry on in the absence of something else that's going on my table. And in my creative output, I thought I'd just motor on with this. I was talking to my friend yesterday about how helpful it is to take the decision making out of things sometimes. And just have something to show up to. And that's what this picture is, something to show up to. I was going to maybe do it in purple, but actually I've decided I'm going to do this in green. This general area is going to bleed up, grow up. The greens are going to kind of, I'll just start. And I think it might make sense of the fingers here as well, if I do that. This is nice, isn't it? See the colourful lilies? I'd never buy them myself. I just had some sort of aversion to buying dyed flowers, but actually they're so beautiful. I really love them. Erin got them for me for Christmas, and they kind of work, don't they, with the colours here. And she also bought them because they work with the colours in the vase that she bought me. The William Morris designed vase. I think this pen is, actually no, I thought it was running out, but it's not. And you know, the thing about these pens is that when they do run out, my friend Sharon has, in her wisdom, given me a set of pens that actually come with spare insides, refills I suppose they're called. So fantastic to know that. Yeah, I just felt like I want to kind of not go here, there and everywhere, but focus on the greens and how they might merge together. I had a walk in the field just there with my friend. I went up into the woods. It was really nice. There's a sunshine today that's lovely. I had a fairly early start because I went to the chemist with Erin and then to post some pictures. So any of you who are after buying those pictures on Instagram, the last few have been posted out there now. So we're up to date. I've shared one on Instagram earlier this morning, well actually last night, that I had put on earlier in the month and it hadn't sold, so I thought I'll just put it up again. I was kind of surprised because, to be honest, it was one of the ones that I liked the best myself. So if you fancy buying a picture of autumn leaves and some purple flowers, go and have a look on Instagram. Remember I was saying I thought the hand looked a little bit odd in the position it was in, but it seems to me it was odd looking because the arm wasn't yet described. It looked as though her arm was doing that, whereas actually there's a bend in it here. So I think that makes it a little bit more convincing. I'm going to bring you a bit closer because I think there's a shine on the paper that makes it impossible for you to see what's happening. That's a bit better, isn't it? Now you can see all the greens. I'm working with my right hand, so I'm maybe obscuring the view, but I lift my hand up occasionally and you'll see. So I wanted to define the difference between the edge of the arm here and the blue beyond. I got myself a fierce bright scarf. I'll show you. Look, I'm sitting on it. You can't see it, can you? There. It's completely bright red. I'm going to put it on as a tablecloth, I think, for a still life. That'll be my next. Or at some point I'll do that anyway, because I really love bright red. I need to, of course, what I want to do is to buy myself some new brightly coloured paint. Because I seem to be all about the colour at the moment. I guess it's maybe related to this time of the year as well, of course, when the light and colour seem to be such an important thing. Like, to me anyway, I feel fierce drawn to the sun. when we have, I suppose, so little of it. But we're on our way now to getting more of it, like, because the solstice on the 21st of December, or the 22nd this year, I think, was the turning point for us up here in the northern hemisphere anyway. The days are beginning to lengthen again. The sun is starting to creep up in the sky. And I think it's lovely. For me, this time of year, it's lovely because I can sit here in the light of the sun pretty much all day in the living room when it's so low. I can, it comes right into the house. It's later on, I think around the end of March is when it goes high enough in the sky that it starts to creep into the back garden a bit more. And every day you can see it like a measure arriving down the studio wall. It gets lower and lower every day, the light, until eventually it actually floods the grass. And then I try and do my yoga outside. Then at this time of year I kind of look and I think there's no way I'll ever go out there and do yoga, you know. And then in the summer it's the only thing for it. I suppose because I'd be kind of following the sun. I like to follow the sun. And it makes sense that when the sun is shining out there, I feel like going out again. Whoa, speaking of sun, isn't it a nice bright colour? The other thing is that the lilies also smell delicious. Oh, that's the black now. Remember I was saying the black isn't exactly waterproof. So it's made the yellow pen a little bit stained there. And just obliterate the black with some of the liquid. I put a sheet of paper underneath this because I like this tablecloth. I don't want it to get stained. I bought it in a sale for Christmas. And on the same day, in the same shop, I found a dress that had a very similar pattern. And I looked at it when I got home. I thought, I've obviously been yarning pastel pink flowers. Because the dress it's a different material altogether, but it's got the same kind of flowers on it. I was talking yesterday about the sun that reminds me of the sun on the cornfield or something, where in the Van Gogh painting. I say Van Gogh. I don't know if that's the right way to say his name. But in the painting of the seed sower, I think it's the seed sower, you can see the figure really clearly. And I think in the background of that painting, there's a really bright, glowing, spherical, effulgent sun spraying its rays. Or else I'm making it up and it's a different painting altogether. But I think it's that one. Okay. Yeah, so it was all about the greens. And now I'll come back up into the yellow again. Maybe a little flash of yellow too on the face. I was drawing Erin. I was actually in tears at one point because it reminded me just to see her like that, like her beautiful face, sound asleep. And I remember clearly holding her in the summer when she was born. She was born in March, and that summer I sat with her in a wicker chair in the garden for hours sometimes, just looking and loving her, looking down at her face like that. And she had these incredible eyelashes. The ladies in the, I remember meeting the ladies, like people who lived nearby, you know, who'd be wanting to see the baby, and they said, you could sweep the streets with her lashes. And they'd put coins into the side of the pram, because that's what you did when it was a new baby. It was a tradition here that you put coins into the pram beside their bodies, beside the baby. And of course they'd be too young to pick it up and eat it. Anyway, that memory came back to me of the beauty of her, you know, lying there, peaceful quality in her face. Go back to my greens. Originally I thought I would do purple down here, but then when I sat down I thought, oh, I feel like colouring it in green actually. I went over there to get the page because I was going to use that colour, purple. And then when I came back and sat down, I thought, no, I want to do green. Spring green, I guess. I can pretend we're into spring. It'll be coming around soon enough, won't it? Yeah, I suppose I notice when I'm talking to you here, I notice a kind of a lighter, I'm holding myself, I feel like I'm holding things more lightly than I have been for a long time. And it's a lovely thing to recognise that and not to be afraid to say it in case I lose it. I was talking about that yesterday on the video. Sometimes you can be kind of half afraid of saying things are good if, in case you might get a rude awakening, then as soon as it's out you might realise actually that's not it. But I have to say that it seems to be a sustained thing, this sense of buoyancy that I've got, and I'm very grateful for wherever it's arrived from. But I had on my wall for a long time that poem, the Rumi poem, Welcoming in Everything. And so I suppose it's no harm to not resist anything that might arrive. But good too to celebrate the good form. Feeling in good form is a thing to celebrate, I think. Because it can be rough enough, can't it, being a human being sometimes? So that when things are going joyfully and things seem easy and light, it's great to recognise that in the mix. The old "this too shall pass" is a true thing for me. It's good. And it's all right. There's a thing too, I suppose, looking back at times that felt grief-stricken and sorrowful and sad and all that. There's a good thing about looking back on those times because it kind of lets you know that actually, even if this buoyancy doesn't last, I can tolerate stuff. As Gladys, what's her name? You know the woman who wrote that book about Untamed, is it? Anyway, she says we can do hard things. We can do hard things. It's kind of good to remember that, I think. When you start to feel worried that you mightn't handle something. Because we have endured a lot, just by virtue of being alive in the world at this time. It does feel like it's quite a feat of endurance to manage to live in the life that you have, you know, in the world that we're occupying with any kind of delight. But then it's also impossible not to be delighted by it, the world, because there's lots in the world that's, well, in the world of nature for me at the moment anyway, I'm noticing so many things to delight in. Most significantly, I think, at the moment is, as I said, the light, delighting in the light and brightness. I might go for a dance this evening. There's 5 rhythms on in Edinburgh. I like going to 5 rhythms dancing, but the only thing, it's movement medicine, similar enough, I find. The only thing about going to those dances is that I end up hurting my knee, because I go in thinking I'll just be nice and neat, I'll go easy now tonight. And then I end up bounding around the place, jumping, you know, really giving it laldy, as they say. I love the old dancing. I love the music and the freedom and the kind of people not bothering. Just letting you know, you can just do your thing like a child, really. So I love it, but then I end up being far more vigorous than I planned to be. I kind of think I'll go easy on my body now this time. I'll just do a nice relaxed kind of a dance, you know, sway along to the music in the corner. Next thing I'm bounding around the place, jumping, and even sometimes standing on my hands. But that's not one of the things that is hard for me. The thing that's hard for me is this slight, I pulled a muscle, I'd say, in my knee or something a while back, and it just seems to heal, and next thing I go dancing and it goes out again. And it's funny that I'm aware of it and I still go back and get overtaken by the music. And anyway, so we'll see tonight. Now, if I go, you heard it here first, I might really make a concerted effort to go gently. But there's definitely a part of me that wants to, you know, a bit like in my paintings as well, like I want to be able to just be free. So there's a resistance to taking care, like, or maybe it's just that I don't feel like I need to at the time until it feels sore. It's not that bad a thing anyway. It's not like not a broken bone that I'm dancing on. It's just, I'd say if I got an elastic thing for my knee, that would resolve it, or at least provide a bit more support. I'm talking about that elastic thing for months. I might even have some in the cupboard. I kind of forget about it, you see, until after, and it's sore again. I was speaking to a seasoned dancer about this last week. I was saying to him, how come, you know, you seem to take it really easy? And he says, yeah, I've learned at the start I need to ease myself in gently because of having injuries in the past. I thought, that's wise. Oh look, there's loads of greens here. I was thinking I had more greens. I had the idea that I'd be putting all these different greens on here, and sure, I couldn't find any. And the next thing, there's a whole pot of them that I missed. I love going, I went to the coffee shop again there, you know. I really love that early on in the day to kind of just sit. And ideas kind of come to me, you know. I think the thing about that coffee shop is it's upstairs overlooking the Pentland Hills. And all I want to do after getting my coffee is sit down and relax for a minute before. I always feel like I can just sit there looking out for a few minutes before anything major has to happen. It's lovely, kind of relaxing, I suppose, because I'm not at home. I don't consider all the things I could be doing, all the other options. I just sit there, and the light is beautiful in the sky over the Pentland Hills there. I got my coffee and muffin, and it just feels really lovely. And then I have a whole pile of books. And inevitably I open a notebook or something I've written in before, and something comes to me, like just a line here or there, that feels really sustaining too. Today it was to do with the calmness of stone. Something, I'm not going to say it right now, but something about being in the presence of stone and how it can remind us of the calmness of silence or something. Sit with the silence of stone and let its calmness something. Poor neighbours, honest to God, every time they walk past with their dog, Maisie goes nuts. Yeah, sit with the silence of stone and let its calmness something. Anyway, doesn't matter. But I like that, dipping into books, dipping in and out of books. I think sometimes can be a lovely thing. And if a quote in a book speaks to me, then I like to write it into one of my notebooks, and I happen upon it later on. So I've got a number of books that are like that now. Like I was thinking, maybe I don't know if it's philosophy I'm interested in, but I was thinking to myself that I could maybe do something, course or something that would kind of speak to that part of myself, rather than just sitting and, or along with my own stuff on my own, like reading it. It might be quite nice to join a group or something and discuss these things and find out more about all these different ideas about living. But I'm kind of keen to explore all of that. The philosophy of life. I liked that when I was doing the teaching course as well, the philosophy of education. It was inspiring. Years ago. I remember being really drawn to study though, and I've not actually gone back to study anything since then, and that was in my 20s. I went to art college, but the course that I really loved was the teaching diploma, doing afterwards. And I loved the study of it and the kind of investigating ways of passing information on. I don't know, it was just, I loved sitting there and learning stuff. And it's interesting that I've not chosen to do that since, really. I suppose just life, there's other things that go on. But I was thinking last year, like looking, a friend of mine was, she shared with me a wheel of areas of life or something, and to kind of go around all the different things like career, relationships, all the different things, and where do you feel like there needs to be more, and where have you already got a full, where does it feel like it's fully resolved and you're happy with things? There was all these different areas. I can think of none of them now. Relationships, family, career, spirituality, all of that, and the mental learning was one of them, one of the segments, and it was one of the segments in my circle that had the least amount of activity. So I was thinking, maybe this is what I need to do, is to kind of go and study, learn some new things, find an area of interest and explore it. I have actually signed up for a course in nature starting in January. Working, I don't know all the details of it, but it's kind of working outside with making things, and I'll tell you more about it once I'm doing it actually. It's kind of a therapeutic thing too, feeling the value of being outdoors and finding ways to engage with the environment that are empathetic to the natural world and all of that. Sounds like an inspiring thing. And it's in a beautiful location, a lovely park, kind of a wild place that I love. So looking forward to that. But that's maybe again not so much mental learning. That's something I already value hugely, which is being in nature. But this is a kind of an area of this thing I want to focus attention in is learning. Yeah, some sort of education. And I don't think it's art related. I think it's more about maybe writing too. Like I'd like to do more creative writing. I'd go to, there's a brilliant retreat I went to last year that I've signed up for again really, but we haven't committed to it fully financially yet, but I'd like to do it again if it falls in the dates that I can manage. Because I'd say that was the thing that fed that side of me. Exposed to new things. Someone just pulled up outside, and I don't know if it's someone giving Lily a lift home. She was at work today and not feeling great. But I think she was going to try and weather the storm because she's had a few days off and she's still kind of on probation at work. Like she's just started a few months ago. But I'd say her shift might be nearly over now. So maybe she is getting... Well, no, she's not jumped out of the car, so it's probably not her. You could try this yourself, talking away to yourself in your own living rooms. It really feels quite nice just to hear your own voice saying stuff. Saying, things that are not riveting, but a bit meandering. I think it kind of suits us to meander along sometimes, to daydream and just play about with things. Ideas and stuff. I was listening to something, how there's lots of these short little things on Instagram. There was a guy today talking about young people today and how our generation, like he was maybe in his 50s or so, our generation are the last to have experienced both life without the internet and life with the internet. And he was saying like young people today now, they won't have the experience of trying to find ways to fill time because of boredom or something, which is what I probably would have done as a child, or there would have been lots of things that I would have experienced because I wanted to not be bored, so I would have gone outside more than I suspect children nowadays are inclined to do. But the other thing is that he was talking about the energy in his childhood would have been going towards avoiding boredom, whereas if there's any energy expended now in children, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, their main challenge really is to put energy into almost being bored, like letting themselves not be distracted by the screens. And it's a very different kettle of fish altogether, and takes discipline like that. Maybe children possibly naturally don't, are human beings. I don't know if we're naturally inclined to go towards the thing that's going to be short term a bit difficult for us, but long term far more nourishing. It's the old immediate gratification, isn't it? I mean, I think I tend towards that myself, but still have appreciated the gratification I feel from the beauty of nature enough to know that it's worth putting down the phone and heading out. And I think my children have things that, young people generally, I think, do still honour that in themselves, but there is definitely a pull, I think, to stay connected online and be stimulated by that rather than the three-dimensional cold light of day world. A bright and beautiful world. Someone else was saying about waking in the morning, and to be sure that before you look at the screen light, that you look at the sunlight. I think for that reason I need to get myself a clock so that I can see what time it is without having to turn on my blessed phone. I think for me, how I make sense of all of that stuff and feel soothed in it is that I feel faith in human nature generally. It's been diminished a bit at times in my life, but generally I feel like we're okay. We kind of like what Donna Ashford says, most people are good. There's a poem that she's written about that you can find online, famous people saying the lines of it. Most people are good. Things like most people will give up their place in the supermarket queue for someone who's in a hurry or someone who's only got one thing. Most people will, most people are good. All the small things, the small ways that most people would stop to chat. Most people are good. And I do believe that. And I think, like, in the end, that can be a heartening thing to hold on to. And then the knowledge of that. And then trust comes, and with trust you can imagine better things. And I think imagining is one of these underrated things at the moment, that imagining stuff. I just feel like there's a lot to be said for daydreaming and picturing how things could be. Not just think it positively. That I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but sometimes you can be kind of forcing yourself to try and be positive, and that's like just annoying, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for letting me carry on like this. It's not as though you've got a choice, but I suppose you do. You could turn it off, and I imagine that I often kind of think, maybe it is only to myself I'm talking. And I'm kind of shrugging my shoulders here because, Anya, it's enough to have a conversation with yourself. Don't be worried about that either. Maybe when I'm old and grey, I'll listen back to some of these videos and think, I was alright. I was good company for myself, even if no one else was listening. I was still having a chat. I was talking to a lady in the post office this morning about that. She said she's waiting on a hip operation for her second hip. And she said that she's really missing the fresh air. She's not been able to walk outdoors at all, really. And she said she's going a bit doolally, like. And she said one of the things, actually, that's most missed in her not being able to have her walks. And I do remember her when I lived in Roslin, and this is in Roslin, the post office. I remember her walking all the time. Like. One of the things that she misses most, she said, is not being able to stop for the chat with people. It's not that, it is nice being under the sky and seeing, being out in nature and everything and all that. That's good for the health and all that too, but one of the most significant things was just the chat. Having the chat with people. The small kind of seemingly insignificant interactions with people of all ages, and just familiar faces too, like if you're walking the streets of your home place, you'll be seeing people that you see all the time, and something soothing, I think, in that. just even the short conversation I had with her in the post office made a big difference to my day. It's nice, like. Most people are good. And I suppose it's no harm to focus on that. That's maybe that's positive thinking, I don't know. There's room for all of it, isn't there? As my friend said, it's like there's kind of cycles to all these things. Sometimes needing to not have any structure or discipline around stuff, and then letting it dissolve into a bit of chaos. It's a bit like the creative energy itself is like that, isn't it? This kind of don't know what I'm doing there. Creative energy is one of spiraling in and spiraling out, and things dissolving into chaos, and a bit like the seasons, you know, the mulch of leaves in autumn descending into food for the spring. That seems like a kind of a strange thing, like a rocket. So I'm gonna just see if I can. It's distracting me a bit, you know. I think it was meant to be part of the sunset sky here. There we are. There's some red acrylic come flying out of that. Red and green excite each other, don't they? Opposites on the colour wheel. When they're laid beside each other, anyway. And when you mix them together, they cancel each other out and make it kind of a grey. So it's the same with yellow and purple and blue and orange. And these are colours that, for example, Van Gogh might have used in his paintings. I seem to keep going back to Van Gogh, don't I? Van Gogh. It reminds me the name of the art courier, Van Gogh. I'm supposed to put some paintings in for an exhibition in the Royal Scottish Academy here. And I need to communicate with the art courier because I think I'm going to be in Ireland on the delivery day, drop-off day, so I'm hoping that he'll be able to take them for me instead. And if not, I'll see if Erin can maybe manage. But it's easier, isn't it, to just use the official. I think it'd be easier for me if it was just to give them to the official courier. Because it's an early start. That exhibition is in January. It's the drop-off is the 4th of January. I've got 3 paintings. You might have seen the self-portrait that I did in watercolour earlier this year. I'm going to include that in it. And then as members we can put 3 paintings in. The other 2 are portraits of the stone carver who I painted down in Marchmont last year, February. 2 paintings of her, I think, is what I'm putting in. I say I think because I can only see one of them, and I know I framed a second one, but I'm not sure if it's definitely her. I think it is. So if you want to see those, you can get in touch with me if you'd like an invite to the private view on, I think, the 8th, whatever is the Friday night, and then the Saturday it opens in January. And it'll run, I think, for about a month. It's lovely having work in there in the Royal Scottish Academy on Princess Street. You feel like it's kind of when I walk up the steps and see my work on the walls there, I kind of have I've arrived feeling, full of ego. But it's just a lovely space, and it's exciting to see other people's work in there as well, and it's a good show. I like the show. It's a bit like, there's an edge to it, you know. Well, there's traditional work in there, and it feels like a real solid foundation of watercolour painting. There's also cutting edge stuff, and contemporary things that feel great too. Good to be part of it, like. This is a time of reflection for me now as well, like we're going along to the dream work group that I go to every week. Things are coming up around how I want to spend my time in this year, and in my work especially, what kind of things delight my heart. That was one of my dream work questions. What in my work delights my heart, and what things feel as though I'm selling my soul, you know, that I don't want to carry on into this year. So I haven't yet figured out what it, you know, it's kind of tricky, isn't it? But I think, you know, sometimes you can tune in and really know. It's just about timing, I think. So, and giving myself space to reflect on all of that. It's kind of probably going to help me too, going over my accounts, because accounting, I'll be looking back over it. Like I need to send the accountant my figures for 22-23, and so I'll be going back over where I spend and earned money, and it'll cause me to go back to all the workshops I've done online and in person, and all the commissioned portraits and articles that I wrote, and all the things that make up my working day, working year. And then I can see how I feel when I look back over the memories of those things, and whether I want them to be part of this year or less so, or more so, or different things altogether. Who knows? And like I think we kind of can't really, as Rick Rubin says, you know, the work reveals itself as you go. I think there's something about showing up in a certain way that is kind of open and free and welcomes the new. Like I'm terrible. What was Erin trying to get me to do? Oh, I had to change garage even. She wasn't trying to get me to change, but you know, changing anything seems to be a bit of a. I try and find reasons not to change things, you know. It's only when it's imposed do changes occur in my life, really. Or that's been the case in the past anyway. Not so much in my work though. I seem to be open to change there, I think. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm fooling myself and I'm just going over the same ground over and over. But I don't think so, because I feel like the part of myself that makes art isn't going to tolerate that, because the whole joy of it is the fact that it's got a freshness and a kind of adventure about it. There's an unknown. Yeah, even just small things can be a risk. You can take risks on the two-dimensional page that might be daunting in real life. I remember hearing these words come out of my mouth. I don't know if they came from someone else, but I think I said them myself from scratch, that yeah, in every move we have the choice to move from freedom or fear. And what was the other thing? Oh, I forget now. Maybe it would have been a lie. What was it I was going to say? Something to do with taking a risk. Yeah, I know what it was. You need to be willing to risk, in every move to be willing to risk losing it all. I like that, to have that gung-ho attitude towards painting, towards art and creativity, to be willing to risk losing it all. I think rather than being delighted with yourself and choosing something that's okay or that feels like it's good enough, I don't know, it's a paradox really. If it's driven by wanting it to look good, I think there's something a bit kind of round-shouldered in that. I'd rather kind of risk losing it and being in integrity with my own self than keep it safe and nice. I think you can feel when you're doing things for it to be nice, and when you're doing things for it to satisfy something in your own creative urge. There's a difference there. It's a bit tricky because I think we all want success too, and sure you can't say for sure any one thing is going to always be the case. Sometimes we need to just give ourselves a bit of a break. In fact, I would say that's the case every day, really. I read a really nice poem. Did I read that one to you? I think I probably did read it out yesterday about a messy day. Lucky us, That really every day is a kind of an everything day. And it's okay. You don't have to have a brilliant day every day. We can't be in control of it, really, can we? Some people would say you can. But I think it might be a bit exhausting to try and just consider that, that we have the opportunity to always be in a state of joy or something, just by keeping our hearts on a high vibration or some sort of thing. I don't know. Seems a lot of pressure. That's just the guy who's friends with the guy who owns the dog that she's barking at him. I was going to say I kind of like the direction, feeling of from Erin's hands there, and then this one shooting up to you. It looks to me like this kind of wants to be blue now. I'm almost there, aren't I? I've probably been wittering on for an hour or so. I think I might have been wittering on for about an hour. It's kind of that time of year, isn't it, for musing and just like wittering. A friend of mine was talking about it when she was wee. She had I was reminded of this because wittering to me sounds like whittling, whittling with wood and a carving knife. She had one when she was wee. She said most Finnish children end up getting a knife to carve with when they're maybe 10 or so. Can't remember the exact. But I just thought, God, that's nice. And she would make a bow and arrow for herself and stuff. And I can imagine just whittling away on my rocking chair. I'm sitting in my rocking chair now. That's kind of a daydreamy kind of thing to do, isn't it? Whittling. I've never done it. It might be fierce hard and not feel daydreamy at all. I don't know. But I like the idea of it. Sitting on a wooden porch. It's a bit kind of American, isn't it? Rocking away, whittling some spoons or something. Maybe that's something I could try carving. Yeah. I'm a bit impatient. I need to, if it's something I'm going to be learning, I think I want it to be really, please go away if this is boring. Don't feel like you have to be listening to this, obviously. But I think if I'm learning something, I really need to be, I'm kind of too lazy to learn something that I'm not really interested in. if I'm interested in a thing, I can give lots of energy to it. But if it doesn't grasp or hold my interest, I have a fairly low tolerance level for that. And I think it's alright to just name it. I suppose you could change, like, the thing with change is that you kind of want to really want to, for it to actually succeed. And there are certain things that I am really wanting to change about myself, or about my life and lived experience, that going forward, that I don't bring destructive patterns with me. But there are other things that I'm thinking, you know, like with a toddler, choose your battles. Like, I'm okay with not having a fierce tidy house, for example, or even slightly tidy. That's a kind of a battle that I may choose later on, but not at the moment. I do love having colourful things around me and creative happenings in the house, but I'm not so driven to iron clothes, and I mean, ironing is the least of my worries, to be honest. Just even washing clothes and having them. Well, we have washed a lot of clothes and dried a lot of clothes. We're almost at the end of the laundry basket, but it means that the house is decorated with damp and drying clothes. And when they are completely dry, they're just kind of flung on top of the worktop until someone claims them. So that's the thing. I suppose that's why people have utility rooms, so they can hide that kind of stuff. We don't have a utility room. Maybe that's all. Maybe I'm not really that bad a housekeeper. But I certainly would say it's not my area of expertise. I am good at putting things together in such a way that I really love. Like at corners of the room, little flower kind of setups and things. And then I put on some new little posters into the bathroom this morning. I like to find colourful quotes and stuff that I can stick up in the bathroom wall. I mean in the toilet. So that you can sit and have a look at stuff. That's inspiring. I picked up a postcard that's sitting up there at the moment at the Restoration Yard in Dalkeith. There's a really lovely shop there. But the postcard is a picture of a Victorian lady with one of those massive hooped dresses. And the caption is, don't half-ass anything. Whatever you do, always use your full arse. Arse or ass, I can't remember. And she's got this massive posterior in the hooped dress, like. So she's using her full ass. I might use this one here. It's funny, when you put a colour or a mark somewhere, it often feels appropriate to put it somewhere else too. Maybe in two places. Or three. I hadn't thought about the hands until now. They're supposed to be good if they were kind of similar colours to the face. At first I thought I'd made her arm far too long. I mean, I think it might be a bit long, but I can just pretend I'm inspired by Modigliani or El Greco or somebody who used to historically paint elongated figures. You know, it's the thing, I've not been for a long time to an exhibition of work. I'd like to go and see Victoria Crow's exhibition in the Scottish Gallery. That usually makes me cry standing in front of her paintings. She uses oranges like that sometimes, alongside blues that are so bright that they make you cry, the combination. And it'll often be like trees, very beautifully elegant trees made with the orange and the blue, might be the sky behind or the land. That was the last exhibition, at least, that I saw of her work. That was all blues and oranges. Beautiful, beautiful things. But of course, this might be a completely different thing altogether. She does seem to be somebody like what I was saying, who is willing to risk losing it all. You know, does embrace change in her work, and isn't always doing the same thing. So I'll let you know now if that is truly the case after seeing the exhibition of work. The Scottish Gallery is lovely. It's a really lovely gallery on Dundas Street in Edinburgh. And my friend Pascal has got some work in that exhibition with Victoria Crowe, as far as I'm aware. They're sharing the space. Pascal's work is really beautiful. She does just gorgeous landscapes, and she really immerses herself in it. You could follow her on Instagram. Her surname, I think, is pronounced Wrench, Rentsch, maybe. Anyway, I'd recommend following her. She has some lovely films about making her work out in all weathers. And she's got this beautiful iridescent gold when she paints water, and you know, she's just got a lovely way of capturing the land and the sky and the light and colour, and you can almost hear the birds swooping and singing in the sea air. The shouts of the seagulls, like when you look at her work, you can kind of imagine them squawking there in the stormy skies, swooping into the light on the water. Lovely, 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 lovely. She's in the RSW as well, so there'll be a few of her paintings in the Royal Scottish Academy too. She'll have 3 paintings in there. Last year she won a prize for the Scottish Arts Club Award, so she had an exhibition of her work, which I went to see, and it's absolutely beautiful. Landscapes that were shining bright. There wasn't any, you know, it's a lovely room, but the lighting isn't brilliant really for paintings to show them off, but the paintings were shining themselves with the light in them. So I look forward to seeing what she's going to have exhibited in the Scottish Gallery and also in the Royal Scottish Academy. I take myself in for a day. It's nice, isn't it, to treat yourself to stuff like that. Like, I remember when I was reading The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, would say to have an artist date for yourself, and don't arrange to meet other people. Now, just you choose to do something that makes your heart sing. Something for you alone, once a week. Starts off for an hour, but then you're encouraged to do a whole day for yourself. Little trip. I might do that for my trip into Edinburgh. And then there's a weekend thing, like where you take a few days and go away, and eventually maybe you just leave your life entirely. No, anyways. But you know that you can have little breaks that are feeding the playful, childlike part of yourself that wants to just enjoy. Let's see. So yeah, I might do an old play date for myself in Edinburgh. These hands are fairly luminous, aren't they? I seem to be going for all the bright colours. This is gold and it looks kind of dark against the others. So I might take myself into Edinburgh for a day and check out these exhibitions I'm talking about. And the one at the Scottish Gallery, that'll be on the moment. and it's free. And I think there's places I could go nearby. Well, I like going to the portrait gallery too on Queen Street. It's quite nice for salad and soup or something too, kind of buffet style. So I might go there for my lunch and have a saunter around. That was where the painting of the Sky Arts series that I was on, Christian Hook won it, and the winning commission was a portrait of Alan Cummings, and it used to be in the foyer there, and now it's upstairs, I think, in the National Scottish Portrait Gallery commissioned that. And then there's one of Nicola Bendetti, the violinist. I don't know if I've said her name properly. I think that's now in the foyer, and that's made by another winner of the Sky Arts Portrait Artist of the Year, whose name escapes me, I'm afraid, but you would want to look him up. His work is beautiful as well. He's a young guy, really. Callum, is it? Callum something. He won maybe in 2019 or something. Anyway, met him down at the exhibition for the Sky Arts Portrait Artist of the Decade exhibition at Compton Verney. Callum Stevenson, I think. He painted Nicola Bendetti, the violinist, and there's a kind of a light, nothing like that colour coming through the stained glass window beside her. It's a lovely piece of painting. He's a great guy. There's so many brilliant artists around the place, and just craftspeople, who are really capable and have the tenacity too to kind of make it, to stick with it, I suppose. And it's not for everyone, and some people who stick with it maybe end up just selling out and doing stuff that doesn't feel an integrity for themselves. So it's not as though that's the only way. It's just kind of one way, isn't it, to try and make it into some sort of a career for yourself. But there's a lot to be said too for just a bit of creative action any time of the day or night, no matter what it is that your day job is. And like Liz Gilbert said, Liz Gilbert wrote Eat, Pray, Love, and she also wrote a book called Big Magic about creative living. And she says that she never made her writing pay for itself, or she wrote herself a letter when she was 16, a letter to her creative self, saying that she would never force her writing to sustain her financially in life. And it's what's happened, I assume. But it wasn't what she set out to do. She worked as a waitress for years in order that she could keep on writing every day. I like that, the idea that you don't have to be forcing yourself. It's not like the only route is to make a living from something. Or something like that. I'm trying to correct this little blemish that I made. I'm actually going along to Liz Gilbert workshop in London. Just booked it last week there for April. And kind of took the plunge. I had a bit of spare money before Christmas, and I thought, look. And it was quite a decision, because I had put in place a workshop. I was going to be teaching a workshop that week. But I thought, no, I'll cancel the workshop I was going to teach and instead take myself off to London for the 2-day workshop with Liz Gilbert. It's not often that she'll be here in this country, I'd say, offering workshops. And I don't know what it'll be like really, but I like her. I like her general attitude to life. I don't know if I made that colour, the acrylic is a little bit weird there as well. Kind of lost that hand a little bit. Just going to bring it back with some orange maybe. And I like the sense of it shooting out the way. And that kind of greyish skin colour deadened it a bit. think. I was just going to do a few minutes, I told myself, because I wanted to have some integration. I think I'll watch some more of Ben Fogel's Lives in the Wild. Of course, I need to do my accounts as well. So I might, yeah. I think what I'll do is I'll factor in an hour today towards doing my accounts, just something. That's what, in Atomic Habits, James Clear says, if there's something you're procrastinating upon, set an alarm and just do it for 2 minutes, so that you don't feel as though you're failing, you know. If you just set an alarm and stop after 2 minutes. So that might be what I might do today. I might set myself an alarm and do 2 minutes of something towards my accounting, even if it is to put in place a plan for tomorrow. Although I was listening to a man there on Instagram talking about that, he was saying planning to do the thing isn't doing the thing. There's a whole kind of essay around it. You know, talking to other people about doing the thing isn't doing the thing. So maybe my 2 minutes of planning would be doing the thing, but it'll be a nod towards doing the thing. And if I can, I'd like to do an hour today, to be fair, because the accountant said to me that she wants all of the figures to her by the 14th of January. So I want to try and honour that best I can. It looks like I've covered all the white with all the old glittering on. I think I have, but I see the moon there, and I want to give it a bit more brightness. I don't know. I think this is the one I want to put on it. Because the moon has had this kind of harvest moon glow about it. I don't know if harvest moon is a glowing moon, but it's got, you know, an orangey kind of quality these days. So I think I like that better than the whitish, more insipid colour that was there. I was reading about John Muir and how he said that the sunlight isn't gilding the top of the trees, it's golding the top of the trees. I like that. So I suppose here the moonlight can be golding things in its path. Not least Erin's patterned top. And maybe her temple. The light of the moon outlining her face. I forget, but there was a David White quote that I put beside it on Instagram, beside this picture. It spoke about blessing the sun for lighting, or blessing the light for carving the shape of his daughter's face or something. I like David White, mostly. If you don't know him, he's a poet from, his mother is from County Clare, I think. And I think, as far as I know, he was brought up a bit in Yorkshire and a bit in Ireland. But he's got a lovely turn of phrase. Especially, I like what he says about the heart and about nature. And I remember one of the lines was talking about the heart being filled to the gleaming brim. I love that. I can visualize it. Like, I love poets, how they can just put their finger on it. Like Seamus Heaney's poem, "Sometime make the time to go out west." And it ends with catches the heart off guard and blows it open. This is a different colour now from the moon, but I think it's similar enough that it might be still appropriate to use as the cast light from the moon onto the detritus below. think I might have some, just some cocaine. I made some potatoes and cabbage yesterday, so if I mix them together, that makes cocaine, doesn't it? You mightn't be able to hear me at all, I'd say. I don't know. I decided not to put the microphone in these days because the iPad is poised so close now to the table that it'd be, I think, louder to leave the microphone off. We'll see. And maybe the issue is that I sometimes maybe don't speak as coherently as I could when I'm doing the old wittering away thing. Bit dissatisfied by the shadow beneath the mouth there. It looks a bit murky or something now that I've brightened up the other parts. So what am I looking for? It's kind of a brownish colour, I think. Maybe this will do. That's okay, I think. Certainly never thought it'd take this long. Sometimes I wonder about breaking up the videos a bit into 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 15-minute sections. This picture has been going on for a long time, hasn't it? I think if I wasn't doing videos, I may have distracted myself from it by now. But I like the image, and I like this kind of sitting and wittering part of my day. And I know that from past experience, this kind of thing is good medicine for me in my practice. It stops the sense that everything has to be magnificent or something, and I can just be open to something new happening. I'm already thinking, but I don't know. You know, do you ever feel you're kind of afraid to say stuff in case it doesn't come to pass then, or in case it loses its magic for you? I might not say it, and you'll just see in the next few videos what it might be leading me towards. If it does come to pass, and if it doesn't, I'll tell you. But I think doing stuff like this, playful stuff, I'm always quoting Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way. She says, serious art is born from serious play. The idea that to take play seriously, I think, to kind of honour that, it allows new developments to happen in your work then. If you can kind of let go of the sense of professionalism or something and just colour in for a while. I know I find it good medicine for me anyway. And as I say, it keeps the fire burning inside and causes new embers to catch fire. Just kind of sparks off new ideas and stuff, you know. As I'm going back to that quote again by Rick Rubin when he said, the work reveals itself as you go, something like that. So just through the practice of moving colour on paper, that's engaging some kind of flow, whether you feel like it's beautiful or not, at least it's movement. And sometimes movement is all that we need. And it might be that it's peeling off a layer to reveal the beauty underneath it. It's like needing to be exfoliated or whatever it is. Needing to be expressed in order that what's underneath can be revealed. Maybe. That's one theory. Okay, I'd say I might call it a day for that. For today anyway. I might look back at it later on and think, oh no, I need to do other things. But for now, it's been a pleasing afternoon. Doodle. That's it there. Ta-da! I think the hands look like they're maybe connected to her body. Her mouth is still bothering me a bit. But we'll see. I think it's about tone more than anything else. There's another little doodle behind me. Okay, lots of love. See you tomorrow maybe. I got that Mother Earth incense thing from Lily from Christmas. Okay, see you tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye.